Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dynamics of a Podcast, the only podcast dedicated to Professor James Moriarty, Napoleon of Crime, and archnemesis of Sherlock Holmes. It feels like a long time since I've said that. Gosh. I'm your host, Madeline Quiñones, and I am joined by my ever wonderful and lovely co-host,
Dixie Parkinson.
And Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Yes.
It's the most wonderful time of the year. So, some quick housekeeping before we get into things. Obviously, we're not audio only yet, but I think we haven't talked a whole lot about this, but it seems like we could just, this is our last episode of the year, and we can start the new year off fresh.
Yeah.
And as far as Patreon goes, we don't have that set up yet. And that is basically because I realized that I was having this idea late in the year, and tax season is already right around the corner. And it's like, if we start a Patreon, we can start it in the new year and give me, a good solid year to figure out the tax situation there. So that's what's going on with that. And then also we have to more seriously figure out, Patreon supporter rewards. So that's the other thing. I feel like I'm missing something. What am I missing? Oh, Twitter. So Twitter did not crash and burn yet. It sure seemed like it was going to that one weekend. And we've been quiet on there lately, but we are still there. We are also on Facebook. And of course, we are on WordPress. Probably one of these days I should actually set us up with an Instagram. But for the moment, we are not actually thinking about any other of the little social media platforms out there. That's just, for me at least, that's just a little too much. We have enough trouble actually getting this podcast out. And to social media, it can be rough to handle. So, we are Dynamics of a Pod on Twitter, Dynamics of a Podcast on Facebook, dynamicsofapodcast.wordpress.com, and our email is dynamicsofapodcast@gmail.com. So, if you enjoy the show, drop us a line. We love
please.
Yes, we love to hear from you guys. It's always fun. See, I should have notes. I don't. Our first episode of the year, though, will be a recap of BSI Weekend 2023, because I will be in person in New York City. So, that's gonna happen. And the hope is to try to get some sound bites from people to play on the show. And it's gonna be a good time. It's gonna be a really busy time. Oh my gosh, my schedule is crazy, and it's not even as crazy as a friend of mine's. Holy cow, the stuff that she's got going on. 2023 I think is going to be a really interesting year. We are hopefully at some point still going to have on Crystal Nolan and Heather Holloway to talk about the 10th anniversary of 221 BCon. Josh Harvey, we still hope to have to talk about Moriarty in music and adaptations. We'd really like to get a hold of Daniel Davis. And we should probably start strategizing about that one. And let's see, there's one other. Oh yeah, Ken Ludwig has a Moriarty play coming out, and I need to figure out that one too. So there's a lot coming up next year, so stay tuned. And we have, oh my goodness, we haven't even mentioned Enola Holmes 2 yet.
Oh yeah.
No spoilers, but oh my gosh. It's very happy making. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a good time to be a Moriarty fan. That's for sure. So with that, let's move on to the main program. All right, so we had to do a pivot today. So we apologize in advance if we seem like totally unprepared, because we are. We are so unprepared for this. But what we were going to do before fell through, and now we still wanted something to close out the year.
Yeah.
So it has been out for a month, so we are going to talk about this with spoilers. So if you don't want to be spoiled, go watch Enola Holmes 2 on Netflix, because this is now an Enola Holmes 2 reaction episode.
And you don't want to be spoiled. There's some good twists there.
No, it's a good movie. Do not spoil this for yourself. It's really good, and Millie Bobby Brown is wonderful, and Henry Cavill as Sherlock Holmes is wonderful. It's so great in this. So yeah, bye. If you haven't watched the movie yet. For everybody else who has, hello, welcome, and boy, where do we start? Dixie, just in general, what did you think about the movie?
Oh, I thought it was great. I don't think it's the sort of thing that, like, if I was like a teenager, I would have absolutely loved it. I mean, I enjoyed it now, but it's perfect for like the age range that it's targeted at. It's
Yeah.
just really cute.
Yeah, absolutely. I keep thinking about that. Like, I would have adored these movies as a teenager. Like, this is, I think, exactly what teenage me was looking for and not quite getting in fiction at the time. It's a great cast. It's such a good cast. Millie Bobby Brown is wonderful. Shoot, I forget the kid who plays, he's not so much of a kid anymore either. Tewksbury, that actor, he's so cute. I mean, he's a good-looking kid, and he's adorable as Tewksbury.
It's played by Louis Partridge.
Louis Partridge, that's it. Yeah. He's really cute, and I still think that their chemistry together is really good.
Yeah, they're really cute together.
They are, and I mean, I think that they have these two teenage actors have more chemistry together than like many adult on-screen couples that I've seen. There's some really cute moments between the two of them.
Yeah, like when he's teaching her to dance, and then she teaches him to fight.
Like, she's just giggling, like, I can't help it. Like, on paper it kind of seems like it shouldn't work, but they make it work. They bring so much joy. And something, of course, these are Enola Holmes movies. They're not Sherlock Holmes movies. And I so appreciate the distinction. And at the same time, it's really nice to see more of Henry Cavill's Holmes. I, I loved it when Edith made a crack about his shoulders, and she's like, "You have recognizable shoulders," and it's like, yes, he does. That is a big drink of water right there, and you know what? I'm not arguing with it.
And it actually works really well as Sherlock Holmes. Better than I think you would imagine on paper.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I totally, once you start watching, you just totally accept him as Holmes.
I think so too. I think, it's like, how do I parse this out? I don't know. I don't know, but I really enjoy him. And it's like, no, he doesn't have the right physicality, but let's be real. A lot of Holmes actors have not, and they've been just fine. Robert Downey Jr. somehow plays Robert Downey Jr. and at the same time also delivers a pretty faithful Holmes. I don't know how that works, but it does. But yeah. And I definitely the brother-sister chemistry is really strong there.
Yeah.
They are very cute together.
Yeah. And it's fun seeing Holmes as the big brother.
It's so
he's the little brother.
Yeah. It's so much fun. He's so cute. And first I wasn't sure about that scene where when we first see him.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was obviously supposed to be comic, and you know what? He delivered. Yeah. Henry Cavill is actually pretty good at the comedy, I think. And well, it's kind of funny for to imagine a big guy like him getting tipsy, but at the same time, it's also kind of funny to imagine because I don't know. My takeaway from it was that Holmes actually doesn't drink very much, like ever. Yeah. So it actually doesn't take much for to do it for him. That was my read on it, and so I just think that particular idea is pretty amusing, and poor Enola, who was like 1/3 of his size, having to help him home and then up the stairs. We get newcomer to new and only time comer to this series, David Thewlis, who once again plays a bad guy. I swear, Harry Potter's the only time I've ever seen that man play a good guy. And I love the part where he's like, oh, it's the Holy Trinity, and then ladies do what they gotta do. That was amazing. And apparently, I've watched some behind the scenes stuff, and gosh, I really should just have the IMDb page for this pulled up. Millie Bobby Brown, Helena Bonham Carter, and the the actress who plays Edith. Excuse me. I don't remember her name. I feel terrible. Edith. Where are you? Oh, Susan Wakoma? I'm not sure. So sorry. But the three of them, that was like actually them doing the stunt fighting.
Oh.
So Millie Bobby Brown apparently didn't like doing so much of the stunts in the first movie, and then really took to it in this one, which I think is pretty cute. And Helena Bonham Carter was all for it, and apparently they just like actually literally went to town and David Thewlis wasn't letting them get anywhere near him. That's such a great story. We got to see more of Adil Akhtar as Lestrade. We got to see more of Lestrade in this one. And I feel like he's a little bit goofier in this movie, but also he was really funny.
Yeah.
It was like I can't complain that much because he was genuinely funny. When Enola first takes off on them and he's like, "Why'd you do that?" That was pretty good. He was great. And of course, Helena Bonham Carter, we actually got to see much more of her in real time as Eudora Holmes, and she was great. And I still think like you could not cast a more perfect actress, I think, as the mother of Sherlock Holmes. Like any Sherlock Holmes in anything. Like Helena Bonham Carter just has like the right presence, the right quirkiness to be Sherlock and Mycroft's mama. I love it. I just so enjoyed getting more of her in this movie, and the way that she's like she has Enola explaining what Enola's discovered so far. So then Eudora starts like piecing out what's going on, and so this really runs in the family.
Yeah. And it was also great seeing more of Edith.
Yeah, I know. I love Edith. She's such a great character. And that I was just so happy to even see her again.
Yeah.
And then we got as much of her as we did, and it's just like, we did not have Sam Claflin return as Mycroft, and the funny thing, because there was like schedule conflicts.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, because of the whole, well, this movie gets pretty political because of all the politics. It would have actually been a very natural way to get Mycroft in the story. So, oh well. But no, it's just kind of funny. who I feel like I'm forgetting somebody. Well, then of course we had the actual story, and it's like the first movie had a real historical event as kind of like the backdrop. One of the voting reform acts of the late 19th century in the UK. But that was just kind of like, that was the backdrop. Technically, it was sort of moving some of the plot forward, but it wasn't the actual plot. And this time we have a real historical event, kind of as the actual plot of the movie. Even though it's brought forward in time by a couple of years because it actually happened in 1888 rather than 85. But Sarah Chapman and the Matchstick Girls, which I think I kind of vaguely knew about in passing, but I didn't really know a whole lot of that story. So
I hadn't actually heard of any of it until watching the movie, and then I looked it up, and it was really interesting. I always like it when you get introduced to historical events that aren't really that mainstream.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
fun reading about that.
Yeah, so that was fascinating and upsetting too. It's like, that one girl who's turned away in the factory early on, you just see her face and it there's definitely this is definitely a darker story than the first one. And I mean the first one did have a kid who was shot by his grandmother.
Yeah.
But this was a whole lot darker because it was more, systematic. So it was really a movie that I think just kind of was more emotionally hard hitting, at least for me. Because some of these characters might be fictional, but my gosh, all of that really did actually happen. But yeah, it's like I've seen some people complain about like historical inaccuracy or whatever. You know what? It's still teaching people history who might not have otherwise known about it. I sure didn't. Not really. So that's my answer to that, and hopefully it inspires people to go out and learn more. I really it's like at the end it had that little bit about Sarah Chapman leading that strike in real life, and like I almost cried at that part.
Yeah.
So that was really good. The music was still great. I think the music was by Daniel Pemberton. I think is the name of the composer. Really great score. And yeah, that whole the whole factory scene at the end, just like that was a lot. Emotionally, that was a lot. And then when the factory manager was like, will somebody stop these bloody women? And he can't do anything to stop them. And that was so satisfying.
Yeah.
Because for once he was helpless.
Yeah.
But yeah. I don't know. I just think that was really good. And I think that they, as a movie, as entertainment, I think that they handled it pretty well. And so we've gone all this time without talking about the one thing that with our particular interest here, we really should definitely be talking about. And my gosh, my stupid computer, because I wanted to make sure. So this for me is like the big spoilery thing, and that, well, we get Moriarty. We get Moriarty in this movie. And I was very excited to find out that we'd even get Moriarty at all. Because I've been wondering about if that would ever be a thing and how that would be handled. So what is the big twist of this movie?
So there's a character who you meet early on, and if you're like me and you enjoy anagrams, you'll figure out very quickly who this character is. So her name is Mira Troy, which of course rearrange the letters, and that's Moriarty. And she's great.
She is. And she is, as far as I know, the first Black actress to play a version of Moriarty, which is really awesome.
Yeah. And she does such a good job.
She's amazing. I think she totally sells it.
There's just something really subtle and like unnerving about her performance.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I mean, she has this little conversation with Enola that seems nice on the surface of it. Yeah. And I was like, wait a second. Enola should not be trusting strange women who have nice conversations with her about halfway into the movie, because this happened in the last movie with the grandmother.
Yeah. There's like a lot of double meanings to everything she's saying in the conversation. It's just so good.
Yeah. Yeah. The actress is Sharon Duncan-Brewster. And gosh, she was great. And they did, when she is revealed as Moriarty, they did something so satisfying that I've kind of been wanting to see in just any version of Moriarty, or any possible iteration of Moriarty who would be Moriarty as an Irishman, because Moriarty as an Irishman would automatically be a second-class citizen in the United Kingdom at that time. And there actually already is in the original canon, there is xenophobia at play in the description of Moriarty. And so something that I've been wanting to see is Moriarty kind of taking like actual English people to task for like how they've treated his people.
Yeah.
And that's really what Mira Troy as a Black woman does very deliberately to the English people in Enola Holmes, Enola Holmes 2. Just when she is just just really taking them to task.
Yeah.
That was so good. She just really delivered in that scene. and then just too, like, how complex, how convoluted that uh that whole, the literal dance that she was leading Sherlock on was incredible. So she clearly has, she clearly is super intelligent. And as a woman, and as a woman of color at that, gosh, there really is not a lot that she can do with those kind of mental powers in Victorian Britain. But then something that I was telling you in the aftermath was that, to me, I didn't feel like she actually paralleled anybody in the Holmes family, because usually Moriarty is a parallel of Sherlock Holmes. But not even Enola or Eudora. I felt like instead she was a parallel of Edith, who is also an extremely intelligent Black woman in Victorian Britain. But literally, one is using her powers for good and the other's using her powers for evil. Edith is literally like teaching women how to defend themselves and trying to get women the right to vote. And she's even like breaking the law, but she is doing it with a higher moral purpose. And Mira Troy is just out to punish the people that she feels deserve it, and she doesn't care, who stands in her way. She doesn't care if somebody gets hurt or killed. So, and I don't know if that was intentional. I kind of get the feeling that it probably wasn't, but I think it's still an amazing parallel. Oh, gosh, I just love her.
Yeah, I really want to see her again, like as the main antagonist, because I think she would be so good and so threatening, and it would just be really fun to watch Enola and Sherlock going against her.
Yeah, well, honestly, I think that we might get that in the next movie.
Yeah,
I really do.
I hope so.
I feel like they kind of set it up for that.
Yeah.
She was just so good.
Yeah.
That was everything that I wanted from like from a non-traditional Moriarty.
Yeah, because I feel like it's a very fresh take on the character, which you don't always see.
Yeah.
It's very easy to do a very generic version, and she wasn't that at all.
No, she wasn't. And something that's really important to me, she sold you on the intelligence of the character.
Yeah.
And that is something that I think is missing from a lot of Moriartys. Because people will just write the character as, oh, he's this evil arch criminal, he's Holmes's arch nemesis, and call it a day. And he doesn't really always appear to be exceptionally intelligent.
Yeah.
And you do not doubt that this Moriarty absolutely is exceptionally intelligent. So good.
Now I'm just thinking, since we're also obviously we're big Moran fangirls, what kind of Moran would if they were to introduce one in the next movie? What sort of person would you like in that role?
Well, going off of how they decided to frame this Moriarty, I feel like it'd be really appropriate for Moran to also be a person of color.
Yeah.
Maybe one who he's still a soldier. Maybe he didn't even make it to colonel.
Yeah.
Because of his race. That could be something that you could play with. But I think somebody who would be that close to her would be similarly disaffected with the not only with the whole setup of British society. That'd be great. I don't feel like we're likely to get a Moran.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But that would still be great. Well, and then of course at the very end of the movie, we get Watson.
Yes.
Enola somehow finds this doctor looking for rooms, and she's like, "Here, my big brother needs a roommate." It's really cute. I love it when Sherlock realizes what's going on, and he's like, "Okay, we're just gonna roll with this." And Watson, shoot, what's that? Himesh, maybe Patel is the name of the actor. So we get a South Asian Watson, and what's really interesting to me is that he is technically Netflix's second Watson, and he's another Watson of color, and I mean, there was such a horrible backlash against the irregulars just because some of the kids were girls, how dare they, and some of the kids were people of color, how dare they, and Watson was a black man, and how dare they. But here with the Enola movies, they remain committed to including people of color in their cast, and Watson is again an actor of color, and that makes me really happy.
Yeah, I really enjoyed how diverse the cast was.
Yeah, it's really wonderful, and also for that matter, I mean, these two Netflix Watsons, they're not even the first Watsons of color. I mean, like, okay, it's
well, obviously you have Elementary.
You have Elementary, but also even further back, it's a parody, but you have Without a Clue. You have Ben Kingsley playing Watson, who is mixed race, and I mean, he's white passing, but he is still like, what is it, half Indian or something, actually. So people,
and I mean, we've had Sherlock Holmes as a mouse, so
yes,
it shouldn't be a big deal.
It should. Racism, as they say, is a hell of a drug, unfortunately. But yeah, no, I so enjoy and appreciate the diversity in the Enola movies. And I just think that's really wonderful. And yeah, quite honestly, I think Edith is probably my favorite character. I want a spin-off series with Edith.
Yeah.
She's terrific. But yeah, you brought it up earlier, but just a quick shout out to the dance scene with Enola and Tewksbury, because oh my gosh, that was so sweet. That was so sweet. I love it when he's like, you realize I've been dancing like all my life or whatever, and she's like, oh good, I was afraid you'd be a terrible teacher. Oh, they're so cute. It's really gonna be interesting how they frame the two of them in the next movie, because I mean, you know, at the end of this lane, quite honestly, it looks like they're actually courting. Not that I think that well, poor Shakespeare, he's a lord. He has to be courting. I can't imagine, and at the same time, I can't imagine Enola like actually going through that. As structured as those rules are. But you know, probably the next time that they film, I forget how old Millie Bobby Brown is right now.
18 or 19,
I think. Okay, she's almost 19. So probably by the time that they film again, she will actually be like 20 or 21. So it's going to be interesting to see how that continues on, if they're gonna do a time lapse, if they're actually gonna have her be an adult this time, or if she's still gonna be playing a teenager. I mean, goodness sake, she's got a very young looking face, so she can probably pass as a teenager for another decade. The whole thing. But she probably can.
Yeah.
Louis Partridge, on the other hand, I'm not sure. That ship might be sailing pretty quickly. He's matured a lot. He's quite the young man. But it'll be interesting to see how the two of them and their relationship are framed the next time. So yeah, I so look forward to the next movie. I think it's already been greenlit. I'm not for sure, but I think that it has.
I mean, the movies have been doing very well as far as I can tell, so
yeah,
I'm really glad they wouldn't be going ahead with another one.
Yeah, I think both times, with both releases, they've ended up being like in the top, or maybe like for a whole week, the top watched or top streamed movie on Netflix.
Yeah.
So that's still pretty good.
Yeah. It's funny. I was on a flight recently, as you know. I took a trip, and the person in the seat in front of me was literally watching the movie on their tablet while we were flying.
Ah!
So I was very glad I'd recently seen the movie already, so I didn't get any spoilers.
Oh, that's great. They're so good. They are so good, and they're a fun time, and they have a lot of heart to them. So I am here for these movies being made for as long as they want to make them.
Yeah.
And I think that we can put a bow on this.
Yeah.
So thank you for doing this kind of last minute switch with me.
No, it was fun.
It was fun. I'm glad that we got to talk about this, because I did kind of want to do this as an episode. I just didn't see it happening anytime soon. But then it did. So yay. But yeah, so to all our audience out there. I was gonna like listeners, viewers, whatever, you're our audience. We hope that you have a very good holiday season, whatever you celebrate, or even don't celebrate. If you don't celebrate anything, have a good December. And thank you for watching or listening, and we will see you in the new year.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, guys. Thank you.